Henry Stone.
Hello, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for
Good to see you.
joining me here.
You're welcome.
So, on Substack, you're the 40th person in a row that I've talked to that doesn't use Substack as to use it.
Actually, I do use Substack. I didn't realize I had a subscription. There's some person that does super interesting Sudoku puzzles who does stuff on Substack, and I get his sort of thing every so often, which are fun puzzles to do. So yeah, I was actually surprised when I tried to create an account. I'm like, what? I'm already a member? Great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd say you were above average in getting in. Like, I'm not going to explain like who's above or below the line, but there are people who are below the line.
Sure.
Like, you would not give them a computer if you were giving them a job. You would just be like, okay, here's a pad of paper
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
pen, and this is what you get, some cards to write on. Um, well, how are you? Who are you?
I don't know. My name's Henry
I know.
Stern, and Brian and I work together at WotC, and then also at Zynga, and have been friends since.
That is true. Thank you for teaching me all the spreadsheet tricks I needed to learn at both of
Mm,
those
mm.
stops along the way, especially at Zynga. At Zynga, Henry was the person who was like, wait, you need to know how this place actually works. And he pulled me aside and showed me his spreadsheets. And I was like, forever after, fine. But like, it was weird coming to Zynga early on. And we'll get there. We'll
Sure,
get there. I mean,
sure.
you lived it for real. I feel like I lived it. I was there early, but you were there very early. You were like at like an awesome time to show up to a company that's just starting to figure things out, right?
Oh, for sure.
But we'll get there. Let's plant
Okay.
more seeds. There's so many
Okay.
good fun that you get to work on the biggest game in the world. We don't have to talk about that, but you get
Mm.
to do it. Um, so you've had like lots of things to get to. But how did we meet? Do you remember how we met? I remember how we met.
I'm sure we met at a pro tour, right? It must have been at one of the maybe PT New York or PT LA before then. I'm not sure. Does that sound right?
It's, I don't actually like. I remember playing you in an alpha grandmaster. And
Oh,
I played you in the first round. It was at Origins, I think the year that they had Nationals and the Pro Tour there. Ice Age
okay. Was
Alliance this time.
okay. Was that like in Philly,
It was in Columbus.
Columbus? Okay.
Philly, you made that Nationals team, I think.
Correct. Correct. I came
Right.
in
So
second that year to not Justice. I beat Justice. Oh, what was his name? Oh my God. I feel so bad that I can't remember the guy who won the national championship and who meted me.
it was quite an accolade, I guess. No, I have no idea
No,
who.
no, no. It was just that nationals. You were allowed to change decks between the round robin and the top eight. Um,
Mm.
Mark Justice was his name, and I remember
Oh, okay.
he and I were playing like a red green weenie deck or a Vice Age kind of deck, and there was a lot of people that were playing their mono black, hypnotic specter, dark ritual deck, fine deck. Um, and I remember us discussing sort of the meta, like, okay, are people going to change? And we're like, no, people aren't going to change. Everyone who's made the top eight is going to be cocky, thinking that they're the best, and they're going to roll with what they brought. And I'm like, we should change our decks to, uh, like, be proactively against it. Because I think three of the eight decks are going to be these mono black decks. So both Justice and I like put like what is that some green elf that like has immunity from black and like gets +1/+1 every turn. I forget its name.
The
Um,
Dervish.
Dervish, yeah, Whirling Dervish, and yeah. So we put those in our decks, man. And I remember the look on was it Mike Long? I don't remember whose face it was when I put that out. And like those decks have nothing that can deal with it. And it was like 4 turns later, the game's over, and it's like. Wow, I remember thinking that I was so smart that like we met it against those guys, and then I met Justice in the finals, um, and then all of a sudden like he's busting out it's a terrible creature but super effective against like red green, which has trouble dealing with fatties. Like it wasn't crawl worm, but it was something like equivalent to that, like some just like big fat creature that I'm like, oh holy shit, he's meta against me. And like I didn't think to meta against him at all. Like he took it to the next level, and he was a good player. He was really good. I think under rated and how good he actually was at thinking about the game.
Yeah, I never knew him really. Like Mark Justice is an enigma. Like if you were, do you know where he is on
No,
the earth now?
no,
No one
no, I
knows
do
where
not.
he is.
Now I know he went. I I mean, I know he went through some, I don't know, tough times or interesting times for him that his life kind of changed from where he came from Utah and came from a conservative background, and like some of the early Magic was some crazy people, and I think it kind of opened his eyes to craziness. For good or bad, that can maybe be where you need to be, in your life. But I don't know how he recovered from all that.
What was it like being on that team? Like, who was on that team? That seems like a
Oh,
crazy
the
team for you to be on.
oh
Yeah.
the PCL team, yeah, that was
Well, no, I was thinking the nationals team, but
oh,
the
the national
PCL
team,
team,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh yeah, I was fine. I mean, the teams weren't really teams, per se. It was just like, oh, you're the top people, so now you're playing. And you rooted for the other people that were on the team to do well because you wanted to win at Worlds, but it wasn't like a team per se. Like I don't
Uh,
we never discussed strategy, or we just were like, okay, yeah, we're all gonna do well because we're Americans. We're from America. We're gonna do well.
yeah, the PCL team was interesting because you were kind of the first famous team, right? You were in like the first magazines that showed up, but like I didn't know who you were. None of us really,
Yeah.
right? How did that?
Yeah, it was kind of a new thing back then. Of having like the idea of teams. And I think it was something that Watsu wanted to have happen, right? Because it's like, oh, people like teams and thinking of groups of players as teams, and you can root against teams or root for teams. Yeah, it was just those are all just like LA basin area Magic players that knew each other. Was myself, was there Chalice was there.
Yeah.
Frank Gilson was one of those guys. I'm forgetting names and I feel bad that I can't remember.
Mario? Mario?
Yeah, Mario. Oh my God, Mario. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, to
Yes,
get Mario.
yes. No, no.
So, yeah, I mean, you guys were a pretty fun-loving bunch. I, on the East Coast, when, like, you guys were in the magazines and loud it, like, it was like
Sure.
I don't know if it put a target
I'm
on your
sure.
back, but it might
I
have, yeah.
No, no. I'm sure it should. It should have, and it's part of the goal of it too, is to do that.
Mhm,
But yeah, I know the thing is like we were actually more of a team. Like we actually did discuss strategy and did discuss decks and worked on things and sort of like, that's still the internet existed back then, but barely. Like there were people discussing magic, but you had to go to some weird places to find people actually actively discussing magic. A lot more of it was in person.
mhm.
Um, and you could have like you could win with the deck and like take it to some other place and people had not heard of that deck yet, right? Like unlike today where someone wins in Poland with some new deck and it's like the next day some kid is playing that in his local, magic store because he read about it online or knows about it. So yeah, you could actually succeed a lot more just from uh, uh like local knowledge, I guess.
Yeah, I actually wanna know how you got into Magic in the first place. Like, I know what you were doing. I actually don't know what you were doing before you
No,
got into Magic. I know you were a rocket
sir.
scientist, but, like,
Yes.
I know you played, I think, trumpet in the UCLA
Uh
band or
Trombone,
trombone?
trombone,
Trombone,
trombone.
okay.
Thank you, thank you.
It
Yes, my
had to be
son's
one of the
my
other.
son's now playing trumpet. It's great. So like early on, even before going to UCLA, it's like I'd always like games, computer games especially. Like Wizardry, was my jam way back when.
Mhm.
And like these are days back when if you wanted to play some games, you had to like program your own computer to be able to play games. And I suppose um if dev work had been more of a thing back then, I think I might have become a dev instead of doing what I did, but it didn't really exist as a major. Yes, there was computer science, but yes, there was programming, but it wasn't like it is now.
Yeah.
And who knows what the future is now, even. It's scary with AI. But um,
Okay.
my other sort of love was just space and science and all that. Loved that, and it was easier to get into as an aerospace major at UCLA. Wasn't easy, but got in UCLA, and went there and got a bachelor and then master's in mechanical engineering, and went to work in the aerospace industry for I don't know 5 years or so. This is back in the '90s, or late '80s, yeah, late '80s, early '90s. Um, and Yeah, so that was fun. Like I still love space and love science and love all that stuff and follow it. And YouTube is great for like you can get fully satiated on all of the sort of science stuff you want by people who are making awesome content. It's great. Um,
Mhm.
but a lot of math involved. Still loved playing games, even that whole time. Active D&D player, arcade games and eventually home computer games. Um, and then around 90, I think it was 93, 94. There's like, I happened to be in a game store in Westwood, UCLA, and there's people talking about this crazy new card game that had just come out. I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. And I had a friend that I thought might like it too. So I bought some. These were unlimited packs, but they still had beta. Um, the commons and uncommons were beta, were black bordered, and only the rares were
Oh, weird.
white bordered. I don't know if you know, like some of the early unlimited packs had beta black border beta cards for the common and uncommon, and the rares were white bordered, which has really kind of messed me up in terms of like thinking about like what's a valuable card earlier. When you don't know anything, you're like, oh, this white bordered cards are the good ones,
Rare.
right? Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, which is crazy. And just kind of got into it from there and started, playing it. Um, Mark Rosewater, who I met back at that time period, this is before he joined WotC. He was working at a game store at the local mall, and I kind of met him just from interacting, with him and talking about him. And he was actually cool even back then. Like he would be happy to trade people for cards at the game store of like for like rarities. And he did such a great job of like pushing Magic onto like anyone who he thought might enjoy it at the game store and like did such great things for I forget the name of the game store, but they didn't appreciate like how much extra business he was bringing into
Yeah.
them with the Magic. And he was starting to work for WotC doing their puzzles at the time, and so we kind of developed a friendship there that's lasted too. And when he then eventually got a job at WotC, that was pretty cool because then I had like an inside person to talk to or to complain about or to say what's going on. And he's the one that actually got us started in doing some early playtesting of alliances back then, which
Mhm.
was fun, but like I think some of the people that I was testing with didn't quite appreciate what an NDA was or what it
Ooh.
meant. And
Yeah, it
and
was controversial on the
it,
player side,
it
right? Yeah.
was, yeah, and it is controversial. Like I don't know if like for something that wants to be competitive, you should have your top competitive people testing stuff in advance. It kind of makes sense. Like WotC needed it. They needed advice from pro level players to tell them what's good, what's bad, what makes no sense, because they really didn't have anyone at WotC who could really think about things in that way. Um, it's just hard to when you're working there. And like I don't know, like any really complicated product, your users are going to be better than you are at your game. Like I'm sure the world's best Overwatch player probably doesn't work at Blizzard. It's probably some dude in Korea, I bet. Um, but if Blizzard is smart, and they are, it's like I'm sure they hire people that are like that to come help them make the game good. And then that's eventually what led to WotC making an offer for me to come work there. And I was like the first Pro Tour player to uh, go work for WotC.
What did your family think of this? Because
Yeah,
I asked Turian, and it took a while for even in my world. It's like, you know, is this serious?
yeah.
Like,
Well, it's
yeah.
hard because like I had a real job in engineering, making like a real salary. But WotC was able to match things more or less salary wise, so that
Mhm.
part was okay. Moving to Seattle was kind of an adventure, moving away from Los Angeles, where I'd been all my life, and away from my family, which was the bigger thing. And also, away from, my girlfriend at the time, which was hard too. Um, I, I would say there was a mixture of support and trepidation on my family side, but for me, it was a chance to make your passion your work, right? Which is a great opportunity for anyone to do.
Okay.
Like when your work is your passion, it's pretty good. You're in a
Yeah,
pretty
it's
good
good
place.
when work gives you energy instead of takes energy. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Although, it's strange because eventually it's well, I'm not sure how much I would have still loved Magic if I stopped working there, if I had worked at WotC or had not worked at WotC, but it's different when you're kind of in the sausage factory and your love
Yeah,
for
for
things
sure.
can change a little bit over time. You know, for better and for worse is how it goes. But I mean, I still owe everything that's happened since, I think, or a lot of it anyways, to like the lessons I learned, about making games at Watson. Like anyone, I thought I was the shit when I joined there. Like, all these people don't know what they're doing. They and that was true to some extent in terms of like the sort of like super technical pro tour side of what makes a card good or what makes a card not good. But I didn't know anything about like what really makes a set good or a set bad for a wide audience that's not just your pro tour players. I mean, pro tour players are important. You want to make sure they're happy with things, but Magic serves such a larger audience, and those lessons were the super valuable lessons for me when I was there.
Yeah, I buy that. It's been nice to see where the game has gone by and large. I know not everyone loves every aspect of it, but I think as someone who is on the more, I'm not going to play in tournaments anytime soon. It definitely, whenever I see what they're doing, I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
From like just a joy perspective, not a competitive gamer perspective.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, what was Wizards like when you arrived? How would you describe it? What
Uh,
movie would you use to create, or
movie.
TV show? Yeah,
Uh,
was it Mad Men? No, I'm just kidding.
uh, no, I don't know. I mean, it was like the people were cool. Like, Mark was there, Rosewater was there, and Mark's fun. Like, Mark,
It's
he's
fun.
not the most analytical person, but it's good. You don't want everyone to be analytical, but you don't want everyone to be Mark. And there's a interesting mix of folks. So Bill Rose, sort of like steady, at the helm, and he's still there steady at the helm, right? For Magic.
I
Um,
think he retired a year or two ago.
oh, did he really? Okay.
Yeah, he is. He reached like uh maybe he'll come back and do it again, like with like the plus one. What do you call that? I forget the mechanic, but in like prestiging, right? He's
Okay. Oh,
prestige.
Prestige.
He's reached
Sure.
the end of like one line, and now
Okay.
he's like he could do it again, but for the most part, I think he can
Yeah.
just like hang it up with like, I'm in the Hall of Fame of growing
Yeah.
game businesses.
So I don't know. We had people working on Magic. Scaff was there,
Mhm.
who's quirky as hell, but super smart and fun. I think, did we hire Jockish or was Jockish already there? I don't remember. Um,
I
I
think William was there first,
Okay.
but based on my memory of talking to William,
I think
but
that's
well,
right. But he's like an odd duck, super mathy guy, but not really like into tournaments much at all. But he could think about he thought very orthogonally to everybody else, which is valuable. Like you want
oh
people
yeah,
that think orthogonally to you. Um, for better and worse. Mostly it's for better, but sometimes people that are way orthogonal are like crazy, and you're like, that's not right. But
yeah,
sometimes they're correct, and you really should listen to what they're saying. He built some crazy decks. Like you're like, what, that card? And then he'd build it, and he'd start to beat you with it, and you're like, what the hell's going on? And then you're like, wait, is it good or is it not good? And it just kind of like would open your mind as to like what's really going on. Joel Mick was there too. He was like more kind of like the business business side of things. He wasn't as much in the trenches, but he was pretty involved in early Magic.
mhm,
And of course, Richard wasn't in WotC all the time, but he was a presence that was still around and talked to, and sort of the guru that you could go interact with. And Richard's one of the coolest people around as well. Um, who else was there early on? Charlie Catino was there. Uh, he was good. Oh, and Sean Carnes. Oh, Sean Carnes. Sean Carnes was awesome. Probably the most awesome guy there. Just super fun to be around.
yeah. We worked with him at Zynga. Strangely enough, like
Yeah.
all of the things I heard about Carnes, certainly like fun at Zynga too. But it was interesting to see him at Zynga. I just wouldn't have equated like the guy that I'd heard about in this
Hmm.
climate that was
Uh-huh.
like quite math oriented.
Yeah. And
um,
I think and Mike Elliott was there too, although I don't know if he was there already or if he came in after. I could look up and see. I just remember Mike was a big presence too, and I always got along great with Mike for the most part. Um, Now you have to keep in mind, like a lot of these folks were really smart and at the top of whatever their fields were, so there's a lot of egos to have to deal with,
yeah,
which is fine. But some people were more brittle and some people were fine with it. And I'd like to hope that I was one of the guys that was fine with it. But there were some people that were definitely more brittle and like we could easily get upset if for whatever reason. But it's like it was a sort of place where if you ask people like, oh, of the people in the room, who thinks they're like an above average Magic player for the people in the room? It's like everybody's hand would be raised, right?
Yeah.
And that obviously can't be true. But yeah, let's leave it at that.
What's your favorite project of the things you did in your first years? Like, what do you remember most fondly?
Mm, mm. So, gosh, it all kind of blurs into one. Looking back, thinking about the sets, I think the first set I was on was Weatherlight.
Mhm.
That was so. Um, Tempest was cool. Um,
What about Three Kingdoms?
Three
That's like,
Kingdoms was, that was for sure. That wasn't just in my first year though. That was like 5 years later,
oh, okay.
maybe 5 years later. But yeah, no, Three Kingdoms is well, Three Kingdoms and Vegas Showdown, maybe the two things I'm most proud of from all my time at WotC. Um, Three Kingdoms is the Magic set. I don't know if people know that was um uh it wasn't the first super top down Magic set. I think that has to be Arabian Nights, but um is kind of the second one and the first in kind of the modern era of trying to adapt Magic to an existing, I'll call it IP. It's not an IP as like Marvel Universe or something, but it's an IP kind of like the King Arthur legends. And Three Kingdoms is even bigger in China and Korea and all of Asia really than King Arthur is to the West. And it's super impactful even today. Like people like there's a lot of I don't know, metaphors and sayings that come from the Three Kingdoms periods and the things that happen there, and the places and the people. And they say, oh yeah, this is where the Battle of Red Cliffs happened at this place, and oh, this is where this thing happened, and all those things still exist. And not to mention that there's been a gazillion video games in Asia made that have to do with Three Kingdoms and Three Kingdoms heroes and all the stuff that happened. And like some of the characters from that are now treated as deities. Like people actually like pray to these various deities for business or for whatever. So it's had a big impact for people there. And I was nervous about wanting to do it and do it in a way that like would be appreciated and not like, oh, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Like, why'd you have this white guy do the kingdom? You should have had a Chinese person do it, or someone who speaks the language. But there's some pretty good translations of the books and some great graphic novels for them too. And I don't know. I feel like it turned out in the end pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think of it as a pretty special project. It's funny, like, one of the folks who is frequent around here, he asked me to care about this, but I don't usually. But I'm kind of curious if you have one of those sets as like a memento.
Um,
Do you keep one of those? Because it's neat, right? I mean, it's just
it
like,
is neat. I had one. I might have parted with it when I left WotC just because I had so much stuff. And I know I feel bad about it. I had a ton of boxes of various Magic sets when I finally left WotC, and I didn't want to schlep all those boxes down
yeah,
to San Francisco, and so I think I sold off almost everything that I had of Magic for I don't know something like 30 grand or so is what all that stuff was worth when I finally left. I think now if I kept it, should have kept it, would have been a much better investment than anything I've invested in since. It'd probably be 300 grand, I bet now, all that stuff.
but I'd say your upside in going to Zynga was higher and after.
Yes, no, for sure. Yes, I'm happy with that decision.
That
Um,
investment works out in the
yeah,
end, but
it did.
yeah.
I just miss, I just think about like all of those, like I had, I had long boxes full of multi-lands, from my playing days and from whatever. And also I
Oh,
went
yeah.
long. I don't know if I heard from Rosewater, if I heard from someone that like multi-lands were not going to be in third edition or weren't going to be in fourth. I think, were they in third? I forget if they were in third. They were either in
Yeah,
third or not in
they're in
fourth.
3rd. They're in
Okay,
revised, yeah.
in third, not in fourth. And I remember going long on multi-lands at the time. And back then you could, they were like, a multi-land was like a $5 bill. Like it was equivalent of a $5 bill. And so I had a ton of them. And now, I mean, I see the Magic. prices now. It's crazy, crazy, crazy what those go for. But yeah,
Yeah. I never worry about that. But at the same time, it does make it a little fun, right? You had some stakes in the game,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I
so to
mean,
speak.
the thing I said, the thing that I brought to WotC that they didn't have before, I don't think it so much was a pro player perspective. I mean, that's true. But they hired other pro players since then, and it's good that they should. And you kind of lose that pro player perspective kind of quickly, I think, once you start
Yeah.
working there. Um, but what I brought was sort of a mathematical, analytical rigor to things that just did not exist at all before. And I think you saw that sort of same kind of thinking at Zynga eventually too, of like, oh, using math and using analytics to sort of try to figure out what's going on instead of just trying to base it all on feeling. And even frankly, like I think that's why I succeeded a little bit in sort of like the early Magic days. Like I don't think anyone was really doing hyper geometric distribution to try to figure out, exactly how many swamps you need to have in your all black deck to sort of guarantee that you're going to get two swamps on turn two with a whatever percent probability. I mean, the math behind that is it's not that tricky, but it's not easy. You need a spreadsheet, and just to be thinking about things in that way, or that like there's there's a reason to think about things that way, and it can help you design sets better. Doesn't help with top down, doesn't help with flavor, but it can help avoid having a set where everyone's going to draft black because draft black is obviously way better than everything else. Now that still
The
happens.
torment.
Yeah, that still happened on my watch,
Yeah.
even with that. But at least there's like the idea of trying to bring math into what we're doing and analytics into what we're doing.
Yeah, there are two things that occurred to me there. I think one is we shouldn't drop Tempest because it was a pretty awesome block to play with, and I'm kind of
Mhm.
curious what like you retain from that. Like you get like one thing that's weird for people who weren't at Wizards is that we played things that no one else sees. So like the card changes you make in house end up being entirely different environments, by and large. But
Mhm.
I am curious, like what you retain from that. And the other thing is that, like, when I go to Wizards, I can't relate to tournament players almost immediately. Like, it fades really quickly. Like, I thought it was interesting. You're the only other person I've heard say that. But I was curious, like, how your perspective of the people playing tournaments and even the perspective of yourself
Mhm.
changed in your first year or two.
Yeah, well, I think you lose that sort of competitive edge quickly if you're not sort of living, breathing, thinking about it. I don't say 24/7, but a lot. Like you lose that edge pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And that's just how it is. And like when you're working there, you don't you're working on Magic 24/7, but you're thinking about so many other things than about like what's competitive, tournament wise. And also like it's hard to do that unless you have the competitive competition too. Like there's like other people thinking about it. Um I think that
Yeah.
I think that part of it fades quickly. Also, like I said, I think that I was able to do well in the early days of Magic from I didn't feel like I was the best deck innovator out there, but I was really good at sort of taking a deck and then fine tuning it for the meta or fine tuning for what's going on or thinking about like, oh no, you should have, two more forests and one less mountain here. And this is why, right? That kind of stuff. And like at the fine edge of Magic, like those slight percentages make a difference between like, oh, you made a top eight or you didn't make a top eight. Um, yeah, and even with that, there's still obviously a lot of luck involved in what's going on.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, I am curious what you remember about Tempest because it was actually it was one of the most fun sets and blocks that I remember playing with.
Sure.
My years of playing are actually like there's 3 before I get to Wizards pretty much or something like
Okay.
that. So, but I did quite like that set. I'm interested if like design and development were different at that point, or was it the
Uh,
same
Yeah.
process
No, it
you and
was
I were
pretty much the same. Where you had the design team, and the design team worked on a set and handed it off to the development team. And I was on the
Mhm.
development team for Tempest. I think it just had strong mechanics, right? I think actually
Yeah.
Tempest had more mechanics than it should have. Um, I think they were a little worried after Weatherlight or the whole Mirage block per se that it wasn't quite received as well. And I think this was Mark's first major set too. I think that like he was in charge of, and he kind of threw the kitchen sink into Tempest. And you kind of see it there. Like it's got the kitchen sink going on, but that's fine to do every so often. You can't do that every set, obviously, or it would be craziness. But I think that's why Tempest is so fondly remembered. Is that there's like a ton of awesome mechanics in Tempest, and then
Yeah.
and they can continued then in Stronghold and Exodus. But it's like it had a lot of great mechanics, and even like Kicker as a mechanic is a such a it's almost like an Uber mechanic, right? There's like so like Kicker didn't need to be as awesome as it was, and you could have done like a very much a subset of Kicker and not done it as Kicker because it's like it does so much. And I'm not complaining about how he did it. I think it was fine, but like kind of looking back on it, it's like, oh wow, you know, Kicker as a mechanic really is so unbelievably flexible.
Yeah, you have this undertone of like we you're almost like an airplane taking off and trying to make sure that like as a brand, as a game, you're going to like sustain and be able to grow. I'm curious how prevalent that feeling was, right? Early
Mm,
on, like the game is exploding, the supply chain issues are being solved, and um,
yeah.
you're able to
Well,
distribute in other countries better and whatnot. But like,
yeah.
what was the like undertone there of like, how long are we going to be able to do this? And,
Well, I remember the biggest decision that was ever made at WotC, the most important decision that was ever made. And it was made in the face of tremendous negative feedback from players was introducing quote unquote type two. If you remember what
Mhm.
type two tournaments were or standard,
Yeah,
they're called, I don't know if it's still called standard now, but going away from, hey, you can bring four of whatever card you want, you know, and oh, there's a restricted list and a banned list. You can only bring one of those to making the marquee tournaments. Oh, you can only use cards from the latest two sets, two blocks. Um, and players hated it, absolutely hated it, understandably, right? Like you're telling people, oh, you just spent $100 for that Black Lotus. Well, I'm sorry, you can't use it now. It's too and I say that on purpose. I know how much they go for now, but I think $100 was like a reasonable price for a Lotus back then. Um, no, you can't use it in this tournament. You can only use cards from whatever third edition forward or whatever was part of standard at the time. And we knew that players were going to hate it, but we had enough smart people that knew that unless we do this, you're going to be forever doomed to either power creep forever, and that just can't last, or it's going to only be a game for people that got in, really early, and everybody else won't be able to play. And that's not sustainable either. So they were willing to take that PR or public, hit to do it. And I think that's what really allowed Magic to eventually grow and become as big as it's become. There's been other changes since then of doing things more casual and the casual formats they've introduced that I think have helped a lot and less about sort of hardcore tournament play and just kind of like, hey, just come and have fun with this, which has been good. And getting Magic Online working well. Is it working well now? Is the Magic Online, is
I
Arena
think
actually
Magic Arena.
functional?
I
Like,
think
cause
so.
there was a long time when I was just, and this is when we were at WotC about how like all of Magic's sort of like they couldn't scale the sort of digital stuff to work. But I think that's
Yeah,
gotten sort of more under control and it's working better now too. And I'm sure that's been a huge part of the growth as well.
yeah, and Worth is probably recovered from that by
Mm,
this point.
mm.
But I think, yeah, Wizards and Digital have not like don't cross the streams.
Well, it's hard when you're not a naturally digital place to then
Yeah.
scale up that stuff or think about it the right way. Um, so I have sympathy for everyone who was ever in charge of Magic digital um, things and the difficulty that they faced.
Hmm. Yeah, no, and the time period things weren't as easy as they are today by any stretch. Like
Yeah,
in 2000 or 1999 when they're making Magic Online, it's a different era of
yeah,
making products, right?
yeah. And that was not the first Magic Online too. There was that sort of earlier crazy RPG version that someone made. I forget.
Chandelar,
Chandelier, yeah, yeah, which was actually
I loved it.
fun. Like
Yeah,
it was fun as like an adventure game of like collection and get your decks and you have to battle this person. I mean, that was an actual fun game. I sort of surprised they haven't done, or maybe they haven't. I
yeah,
just don't know about it. Something along those lines since
yeah.
then, because I think there's think there's a decent amount of there, to like, anyways, I always like those kind of games.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. I do think something like that appeared at some point that, like, people who can still spend a lot of time gaming know about.
Okay.
But, like, it did come up, I think, at my last company that there was a card-playing RPG with I thought the anti-mechanics were kind of interesting in it because in real life, no one wants to lose their value, but in a video game, it's like a roguelike in a sense where
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt as much.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Oh, that was another thing about the early WotC culture was a very much like a Blizzard LAN culture as well. Like we played a ton of it was Warcraft 2 back in the day. And then eventually we had a lot of people that we knew that were at Blizzard, and WotC was like one of the play testers for StarCraft, the very first StarCraft, and so we were playing the heck out of that early on too during the play test time period, and that was super fun.
Yeah, I mean, there were 8 computers, like, LAN together, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. That's how. I mean, again, pre-internet, right? Like, I mean, not pre-internet, but essentially pre-internet. Like there, it's like so. Yes, if you wanted to play, you had to have your computers all on the LAN, and you could play. And we had 8 computers like that, and we played the heck out of Warcraft 2, and it was super fun having just 8 people that was like fun with. We'd make teams and play, and I don't know. It was I remember
it
one time there was I don't know if you played Warcraft 2, but like one of the highest level
yeah.
techs is if you get ogres and they can get bloodlust, right? And there's a sound when the ogre's like bloodlust. Sound. There's a very distinct audio cue that like bloodlust and ogres are coming to beat you up. Um, I remember one time like Richard Garfield like was tinkering around with the sound files on the computer that he used, and he changed like the sound of like when you click on a house, he changed that to be the ogre bloodlust sound. And we're all on a local LAN, so all of a sudden like and we're playing a game, and then like at a way early time in the game you wouldn't expect to hear it, he started tapping on his house, and you start hearing like the ogre bloodless sound, and everyone is freaking out of like, oh my god, how's your bloodless ogres already? What's going on? And he's just playing a joke on everyone. That was kind of his sense of humor.
Yeah, I there were some really great video gamers in the group, like, people who had I think Matt Place had placed really highly in, like, the first
Sure.
StarCraft World Championship. Eckleberry, I remember being really good. Worth was really good.
Yes, there were a lot of really good twitchy or strategy, the sort of real-time strategy gamers back then. I enjoyed those games, but I just did not, and I still don't today have the clickety clicks to do things. So like things like the first person shooters, it's not my jam. I enjoy more sort of puzzle games and everything like that, but I still like playing them, and I like playing them in sort of the story modes of doing that. That's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Yeah, I remember I don't know the time period, but you were a guild leader for one of the big early
Uh,
MMOs. Do you remember this? Like,
yeah. So we all played. The first one was EverQuest that kind of swept through that we played. It was a Sony, I think, game, which is like one of the first MMOs out there. Super fun, pretty hardcore. Like if you lost your body, it was a pain to get back, and like the stakes were high, for screwing up. Um, and then eventually, World of Warcraft came out again from Blizzard, and all of us were playtesting that before it came out, which was fun. And then when it came out, it was a super fun thing. And like, yes, we did have a guild of people that were from WotC and from some external people too. And I got super duper into that game. I mean, to the point where it was like, all right, you're working 9 to 5, you're working, WotC, and then 5 to 12, you're working your World of Warcraft guild. Uh, and I put a lot of time into that. Probably more time looking back on it now. I think an unhealthy amount of time, really. Even though it was fun, at the time. I think
yeah,
now it's like, oof. I'm just glad that games like that did not exist when I was going to college or when I was in high school,
yeah.
even. Right? I think it would have been I think it would have been a problem. I think it would have been a problem.
I think Magic was that for many of them.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I had to drop out of college at some point, and then I took 9 months. I studied what I wanted. I qualified for the Pro Tour a few times, and I was
Mhm.
like, all right, I'll go back to school. But
Good.
like, it was hard to do both.
It is hard to do both. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Magic got to that point where if you wanted to be a top Magic player, you had to. It's not every waking hour, but you had to live, think, breathe, Magic. 24/7.
yeah, yeah. Do you ever see? I think it's Wordplay. You ever see the movie Wordplay? I think it's the crossword movie.
Word Freak, or is
Could
it?
be Word Freak. I think they're both movies. Um, one is well, the one I'm talking about is the crossword one, which could be Word
Okay, well,
Freak.
I'm thinking about the Scrabble one. Sorry,
Oh yeah,
Scrabble guys are even more insane in what they do. Like that like you can get world champion Scrabble players
yeah.
who don't even speak English. They don't speak English, but they can play Scrabble at a world championship level. Yeah,
Oh
think about
yeah.
that.
If what happens if I play ROADEO first word on
That's
a
good.
Scrabble board?
That's legal. That's legal. That's where the truckers get together and trucking competition. It's a rodeo. Yeah.
Yeah, Worth still remembers it. I was talking to Worth before I put out the book, long like before I even thought I would ever be doing this, and
Mhm.
it was that's the thing he remembers is when you started a game with that word and he didn't know what to do. Like he just was
Okay.
like stumped. It was a frightening situation for him to be in. He didn't challenge you but he didn't forget it either.
Yeah.
That is a really good starting word.
Sure. Sure. Um. Yeah. What we're talking about? No, just that, like the dedication to be good. I mean, any game too. I'm sure people who are good at like all of the esports guys are insanely into what they do. Right? They can't. I don't know how much of a life you can have outside of training and studying for it.
Especially now, right? You have like every there's so many chess players can be grandmasters now, and um, the bar is higher than I think when we were playing, just from an access and ability to train
Yeah.
perspective.
Oh, for sure. For Magic, 100% for sure.
Yeah,
For those games too, I'm sure too.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think there are two avenues I see. So one is like non-magic games kind of show up, and I don't know what that looks like alongside like making magic. I know there's a fork where I think Elliot's
Hmm.
working on Urza's block. You're working on Three Kingdoms, and I think everyone is kind of everywhere. I think it's an interesting question of like looking back, where there are things you would change strategically at different points, like decisions that were made to like approach different IPs or to go too wide with for the talent base you have. This is something I've like wondered a lot in the
Hmm.
exec seat. It's how do you calibrate the right level of risk for the talent you have and like you want to push people to you know generate the most area under the curve or value under the curve over time, but
Yeah.
Wizards multiple times ended up spreading too far, I thought, for the people it had.
I think that's probably true.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have made sense to have more horsepower in the R&D Magic sort of design and development team earlier on. Eventually we got
Yeah.
there, but I think we
Mhm.
were kind of relying on the same instruments for a few too many songs, if that makes sense, or the same artists for too many. Yeah, or maybe think of it as like a an artist making a musical, right? And it's like, oh, there's an Andrew Lloyd Webber show is an Andrew Lloyd Webber show, and it's fine, but like you might want to have some more different people making your shows every so often. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
But I think they got there. I mean, I what I find fascinating is just how much Magic has exploded like these past 5 years as they've just like taken the if there was a handbrake, they take a handbrake off on like collaborations and number of sets that can come out and how many sets you can make and what the appetite of the public is for sets. And I hope that it's sustainable what they're doing. That the going from I don't know, back in our day it'd be what, like 500 cards a year, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
To now it's I don't know how many cards a year.
That's a
10,000
hustle.
cards a year, right? It's a lot of
Yeah.
different cards each year. I don't know, 10,000, maybe it's only
Just
2,000, but whatever it
just
is,
put
it's
them
like,
out and ban them when you need to. Like,
yeah, I mean,
you know? Yeah.
you can't. I can't complain with financial results, right? Like financially, it's doing way better, and in some senses, that is the ultimate arbiter of like, is this good or is it bad? Um,
Mhm.
I just hope that it is a sustainable growth that it's seeing, and it's not like that it's not
Yeah.
burning out the audience. I have a little bit of fear that that might be true, but I don't know. I'm very much removed from the trenches now, so I don't know.
Yeah, you're not the first person to mention that. There is a surprise guest today.
Okay,
Are you okay with that? Because it's happened. If this person joins, they will surprise you.
okay. I'm
You were
looking
number
forward to
one.
it.
You were on the list of I would like to surprise this person for so and so if they ever arrive. In general, Substack does work,
Yeah,
but
it's waiting. I see the message. Waiting for
he's probably in the
Bob. Bob.
bathroom.
Bob.
Oh, look at that!
Henry Allenstern.
Oh my goodness.
It is Scapolis.
How are
Scaff.
you doing, Henry?
Good, Scaff. How you been?
I've been pretty good. It's been a
Awesome.
very, very, very long time.
Yes. We got together for breakfast 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That is a long time.
Yeah.
You still live together, from what I remember. Is
We
that
did.
true? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. On 20,006 Southeast Jones Road.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive there. Nice.
Could you do that, Scaff?
What's that?
Could you pull that address that quickly?
I could have done the Southeast Jones Road part, but not
Okay.
not the rest of it. Nice.
You
Yeah.
knew you gotta.
Nice.
Is that house still standing? I have to think there's been a flood that's gone through between then and now that has wiped that house out. But
That's
no.
exactly what I would have thought too. No, I visited it probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and it was still standing and it looked the same as ever. And I would have bet money, especially after the earthquake, I would have bet
Mhm.
by now it would have collapsed.
Mm.
Unfortunately, it defies all expectations. I mean, fortunately,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, fortunately.
we know what you mean.
Yeah, man, it's been such a long time, and I actually really regret I want to hang out with you and talk with you more, and just have not got around to it.
Oh, awesome. Oh, it's good to see you. Great to see you. Yeah, things going good back at Scopely. Now, doing well, working on Monopoly Go. Crazy game, doing crazy numbers for something pretty simple, but
Yeah,
but
Is
it's
it
fun.
big? It's bigger than Magic, right? Like you can like flex if you want, right? You can be
I
like, look,
I don't know. I mean, we
you guys
make.
are small to me.
I mean, I don't know. Monopoly Go is like doing 2.5 billion a year, roughly.
That's big.
So
It's bigger than Magic.
yeah, I think
Magic.
so. I mean, that's net. Like, we have to pay. We
Yeah.
have to pay Apple. We have to pay Hasbro. Is it Hasbro that does Monopoly? I think it's Hasbro. We
Wizards
have to
has
pay
to pay
Hasbro
everyone out too.
something.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And all the staff and stuff we have. But still, for a team of 400 people or so, it's pretty good.
yeah, that is
Pretty.
pretty good. That's probably bigger than Magic. That's not. It's closer than you think, though.
Yeah.
And it's smaller than Pokemon. But yeah, so you're right. Yeah, right in there.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. I didn't realize your numbers were that big. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah.
It is the
Yeah.
mobile winner.
It is the global winner, you said?
It is the
Mobile.
mobile winner for the last few years. Like
Mobile.
if you see an ad, it is for Monopoly Go, no matter what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
interested in.
Yeah, that's very impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting. You take an IP that's universal, and people know about it, and put it with a game that's approachable for folks, and there's potential success as long as you can keep it fresh and keep it fun.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I have an Instagram clip about Monopoly that's about 2.4 million views. And the sum of all of the Magic content that I do for the entire run of this will probably never eclipse that. Just 30 seconds of Monopoly is.
That's amazing.
Uh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, sure. And that's part of Magic's recent success too, is hooking in with established IPs, right? I mean, that's
yes.
Oh, yeah.
No, we just are you. Oh, so you've been out for a little bit.
well, like 30 seconds. I heard
Okay.
just the last.
No, I was saying that I've been very impressed with Magic's financial results these past few years of like
Oh
what
yeah,
they've been able to do. It's
absolutely.
crazy. It makes me think of like, okay, were we just dumb back then for not sort of exploring it, or is what they're doing now, is it sustainable? Like, is this something that's going to
Yeah.
continue to grow, or are they burning people out and it's going to like not sustain over the long run? I hope it will. I mean, it'd be a shame if it got burned out for silliness. But
Yeah.
can't argue with results.
Yeah. I would say I'm always open to the possibility that we were being dumb. I mean, there's no doubt that sort of toward the end there, we could have, as you said, taken the handbrake off a little bit. But I think I was telling Brian on our thing, I was just looking at some old notes from 1993, early in 93, maybe even before Magic came out or immediately after
Wow.
Magic came out. So it would have been the fall of 93 about doing license with ICE. So Lord of the Rings. So
Okay.
we had done a deal. We went and visited them. I mean, this is like in the first, couple months after
Uh-huh.
Magic. And we were gonna do a license thing, and then we were gonna do our own game, and then it was back to a license, and then eventually we decided to kill it. That was mostly, uh, you know, executives there. But, Disney came and visited us in 94, 95. We went a ways down that road, negotiating with them. And again,
Hmm.
we decided no. So there would have been a Magic Lorcana, but they basically would have owned
Hmm.
Magic IP. They were gonna have an animated series with Herloon Minotaur as, like, "Oh, I'm running around with a little dungeon
Hmm.
and a guy," and all that sort of stuff, but then so I think we made the right decisions very early on because you have to establish it first.
Yeah.
The same
Yeah.
thing I think with scaring away the collectors, right? Like, I think that there was a lot of Magic is a game that eventually you're going to teach to your kids 20 years from now or 30 years from now going
Mhm.
on, in the beginning. Because if you look at all the other stuff, faded away.
Yeah.
So,
I,
uh,
I was telling Brian that I think the best decision WotC ever made was introducing Type 2, if you remember back then, or standard formats of
well,
saying.
I remember it well because that was
I,
my thing.
no, I understand. And I give you the most credit for like driving
Yeah.
that, because that took balls to do. Like, not many companies would do something of like,
Nope.
you know what, this is going to piss off our base to no end, right? Like, people are going to go
Yeah.
crazy upset about it, and they were,
Really bad.
and rightfully so. Like,
Death threats, yeah, everything. But internal to the company, people hated it too. I mean, let's
sure,
outside, yeah.
sure, yeah, but yeah, that was, I do think of all the things, that was like the wisest, most important design change that we did, or
Yeah.
that was done. I shouldn't take credit for that, since I
Yeah.
was more
Were
of
you
a
one of the
bystander.
complainers on the outside?
No, no,
Oh,
I was
okay.
not.
That's good because you were one of the smart people on the outside
Yes.
as
I'm kind
opposed
of
to the rest of them.
like, which one of you took more Evil Knievel like maneuvers while at Wizards, Scaff or Henry? Like, I see like what you're doing there, where you're taking a position is like a very ballsy move, like Henry says. That's like it feels like an Evil Knievel thing to do. You're like, well, we're gonna risk it on this, right? You're flying over a large body of water with piranhas in it or whatnot. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. It's doesn't feel none of them felt like Evil Knievel maneuvers. They felt like, guided by, I don't know. I would say almost moral principles. Like, I think I told you before about visiting the shop with Richard in 94 and seeing like kids there that literally couldn't buy the cards because they were all above retail. And coming out of there and like, I don't know, we're like, I mean, like I was tearing up, tearing up, like, like almost crying that the kids couldn't play the game. Yeah, so it was like, all right, fuck that.
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, you're doing things, and so like, I don't know, you're sort of guided by these like, um, I don't know. I don't think it's bad to be guided by overarching principles. I think it leads you into mistakes. Like we could have made more money at the end for sure. I mean, people now at Wizards are way better, but we didn't know. You talk about the handbrake. We didn't know when to let off the gas pedal in terms of going and making it a game, right? Like it's just for players. It's just a game. It's a disposable product, like pushing draft as well as Type 2, like trying to keep it affordable. Um,
I mean, the company kept fearing it would die, right? It was always looking for this
No.
thing that would replace it. No, you didn't think so?
no.
Oh, interesting.
No, not in the least. Not for
Okay.
a minute. Yeah.
Okay.
We were fearing the company may have to lay off a bunch of people because we were doing wasteful stuff or whatever. But I don't think, like, I think it in the end, Magic had such it had enough power that's like, oh, what's the worst case scenario? Oh, well, whatever. We'll, instead of making $300 million a year or whatever, we'll make 200 and then 100 and then whatever, 80. And then, I mean, that's like the worst case scenario was there would have been this long tail, D&D-ish tail. I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a window in the aughts where the brand team was not convinced it could grow anymore, right? That I do remember. And those brand managers didn't stick around because that's not what you should say if you're growing a
Wait,
business.
sorry, you're worried that it couldn't grow anymore? Is that what you said?
Yeah, there was a window in the aughts where I think the brand team had given up on its growth potential, and it seemed like Wizard was orienting towards other bets because of that, right? It was trying to diversify and figure out what was next. Pokemon had left.
Duel Masters and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Duel Masters was such a great opportunity given the manga. I mean, you talk about powerful IP. That IP was so powerful in Japan.
Yeah.
So, and a really great example of how IP is kind of more important than game design, right? It's a good game, but look how it did in America versus Japan.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's as game designers, our job is to not screw up people's access to the IP they know and love.
Yeah, I kind of want to connect to you guys. I want to force you to like connect in person at some point and play Matchmaker, but that's on you. It's on you. It's your ownership. It's your lives. You're both beautiful beings who deserve each other in a friendship capacity.
Yeah, I mean, we should all get together at some point. So you're, where are you still? Where are you, Henry? Obviously in the Bay Area, I guess.
Bay Area still.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, still in the Bay Area.
Where?
Belmont. Belmont, if you're familiar with where Belmont is. It's sort of in the hills above San Mateo.
Okay.
Roughly.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a really nice spot. It's kind of near Half Moon Bay, which is the best.
Yeah. So not too far from where we had breakfast.
Correct. Correct. It's not too far from there. Yes. And no, it's nice. We got a house where it's walking distance to the elementary school and walking distance to the junior high school. So
awesome.
It's worth a lot for our kid who's now in middle school, which is crazy. And soon to be off to high school. Yeah.
That is crazy. Just one kid still?
Just the one. Yes.
So far?
Probably at this point. Yeah. For good, but yes.
Awesome. Well, all right. Well, I just wanted to stop by and say hi because, I miss hanging out with you so much. And
thanks, Steph. I have a lot of fun memories from WotC, and you are at the center of many of them.
Oh, well, thank you very much for that. Yeah. So to my favorite people, I'll say goodbye to you and have fun with the rest of the chat.
All right.
I will say goodbye as soon as I can figure out how to leave. There we go. All right. See you.
I'm not naming names. It's nice to see. Yeah. It's funny. I feel like there were different like sets of folks that hung out at Wizards. Like I hung out with like Paul Barkley, Brandon Bozzi, and Tyler Beelman a bunch, right? And then like there was this like Scaff, Henry, Dan, Cervelli, and Worth Wolpert group for a while that would play games together and whatnot in the early years anyway.
Mike Tarian eventually is there too.
Yeah, I think it kept changing every edition, right? Like the games, like going to Dota from StarCraft and graduating to like different mixes and people having different impacts on the meta. I don't know. The community meta.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny. Well, what's the favorite Magic set you worked on? That's not Three Kingdoms. Like what we worked on a lot of things together. I remember
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
some of these things were good. A lot of these things were good actually.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember all of the ones that I worked through. I have a list here that I'm looking at. Um, One second. I know this is great. This is great theater of a person scrolling through a screen on another screen. Like I said,
Probably some coffee there.
Tempest was awesome.
Mhm.
Urza's was interesting. Some craziness there, but also fun.
Yeah.
You mentioned Portal Three Kingdoms. That was great. Masks was terrible.
I wanted to say
Um,
mask.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Invasion, I remember liking a bunch.
Yeah.
Plane Shift as well. I didn't work on Apocalypse. I think that was Randy, I think. Um,
Mhm. Yeah, I think so.
yeah, and then going forward, what was after that? Darksteel was cool, Mirrodin was fun. Legions, I seem to remember being awesome
You
as
were the
well.
lead. Yeah. I think you
Yeah,
were the lead on that.
yes. I think then Kamigawa was some of the last sets I was working on before I left. Maybe Lore one. I think I might have been working on Lore one a bit.
You were on the Ravnica team, I would guess.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you were on Magic sets until, like, through my time leaving. Like, I left at Time Spiral Block, like,
Okay.
Future Sight, and Lorwyn time.
Okay.
So, I think you would have worked on those, but
Yeah.
they weren't very memorable.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
well, it's I hate to say, but a lot of it is a blur. Like I remember more
Mm,
distinctly the earlier ones, and the later ones are more of a big blur.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Somewhere in there, I worked on Vega Showdown, which was probably my other. You asked about like what was your favorite thing you did at WotC, or thing you're
Yeah.
most proud of, and I think Vega Showdown for me was the other thing.
I think it's the thing I'm most proud of that you did. It came up on the Justin Sinicolo call where he hadn't played it. He ordered it. You owe me $1. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Some minor share of the royalty. You owe me nothing. But
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome how that came to. Like you were like a man possessed.
Well, it's
Yeah.
weird. Like Bill said that we want to do a sort of more German style board game. For
Hmm.
folks who don't know, German style board games are just like more strategic, um, board games where it's not like shoots and ladders, but you have more decisions to make, more fun choices to make along the way. A lot of them are kind of econ sort of games as you go, where there's like victory points that you're trying to get, and there's ways of getting your victory points, whatever. Um, and Yeah, I don't know why that struck me so inspirationally, I guess, but like I had a vision for like, oh, this would be a fun sort of thing. And what was interesting about that is, um, kind of like building like the prototype was fun to do, but then the game got so much better from playtesting, and I feel like I had the best people in the world to play test with who could play it, give really good feedback because they're all people who like these sort of games and could tell me, oh, you
Oh
should
yeah.
change this. This is bad. Like this. These are two. This is not a connectivity, etc. Um, I'm still a little. I'm not really happy with how it turned out, but I'm still a little bitter that I never feel like it got the right graphical treatment or care for the components that really would have made it be like it could have been really successful. It could have been like a super classic, board game, but it's just never got like it was always about sort of the bottom line of like, oh no, we can save so much money if we have these paper components instead of making them
Yeah.
cardboard. It's like, okay, I can't really argue because it needs to make money, but I still feel like it would have been good. Now, I did get some very kind words from other sort of designers that are out there that mean a lot to me. They say, "Oh, this game is great," which no, so I got all the validation I needed from it, which was fun, and it is still a fun game. And I got to, play it with my son recently, and it's like, oh, this is pretty cool that like you can introduce to like your kids to these things that you made and you did.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you have like can you do a remastered version? Because
I tried to buy the rights to the game back from WotC
yeah,
when I left or shortly thereafter, but it was no go. I don't know if it was
yeah.
Bill Rose's decision or whose decision, but they weren't willing to do it. And they did put out another version, a second version of the game, which was a little bit better, but not enough better, component wise.
Mm. Yeah, it's IP management ends up being disappointing for everyone. Almost in all IP like situations. But that's okay. That's good to know. The hope isn't
Yeah,
dead, but it's not alive either at the
yeah,
moment. It's kind of in a liminal space.
yeah.
I thought it was wonderful. I remember you making that game and getting a playtest in or not. I think it hasn't come up how much we played German board games to that point. Like
Oh
it's
yeah,
come up how we video gamed and played Magic and were goofballs, but like holy cow, that was like the most German board games I'll probably ever play.
yes. Um, no, I still have friends that are into it. I don't get to do it as much as I would like to. Just family and other things makes it hard, but they're super fun. Like it's a fun experience for an hour. Some of them maybe 2 or 3 hours if you want to play a game that's that long. But it's like a fun experience that you get to sort of enjoy someone's creation and what they've done. I don't know. I think it's and it's with
Yeah,
people, right? And you're interacting with real people, which
yeah,
is great too. Now
wonderful.
you have to have people that are on your same wavelength in terms of like how much they want to think about their turn and how analytical they want to be. Like, so when you get out of sync, like you just want to kind of play more casually and fun, and this person's like a deep thinker and wants to like that cannot be fun. So you all
There were
that kind of need to be on the same wavelength in terms of what you're doing.
there were people in R&D who like would be playing like a playtest match and they would treat it like a pro tour match without time restrictions and
Yeah,
oh look at that
yeah,
look at
like
that guy.
the Jim Lins of the world. He's a deep thinker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm talking to one of them tonight, a man named Devin Lowe, if you remember that guy.
I do remember Devin Lowe. Devin Lowe's awesome.
Yeah, he is awesome. He probably plays faster now in his playtesting sessions,
Mm.
but he was very good. To his credit, fast or slow, I thought he was very good. Yeah, there was something I remembered that you might not. Um, and I remember it as another special Henry Stern moment where we went to
Mhm.
Whistle Stop one day, and uh, Quill was a deep thinker. That guy was a slow player, but a very enjoyable person um, to play with, enjoy a long game with. We were at Whistle Stop one day. We used to play a bunch of card games at this sandwich shop, which
Oh
was
yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And one day, a waitress who we all enjoyed having as our waitress served someone who died. And all of us were kind of paralyzed and didn't know what to do to like console her at all. And you actually like in like like intuitively and instinctively like reached out your arm and put it
Mhm.
on her shoulder. And like it was clear that you sincerely cared and actually knew how to act in
Hmm.
that moment. And she did actually take that and feel better. And it was like Brian will remember this moment in like the
Really?
interacting
Oh,
fiction thing. Yeah,
I,
you were
I
actually like a very empathic in like a crisis moment, and I haven't forgotten. It's right up there with Vegas Showdown for me, and like
okay.
moments where
Oh, thank
Henry
you, Brian.
truly shine.
I wish I could remember when exactly that was. But yeah.
I mean, that's a crazy thing to happen to anyone, but like if you're a waitress or a waiter, and like how do you even cope with that? That's really
Mm.
tricky. Um,
Yeah.
were you a winning or losing Turbo Hearts player?
Uh, barely winning or barely losing. Um,
Yeah.
I there are people that are just way better than me at it. I can count cards, but I just don't have the patience for it. And to be good at Turbo Hearts, you really need to count. You really need to
Mm.
keep track of things. Um, and it's like I mean, it's like I can count at blackjack, and I got good enough to do it, but it's like, oh god, it's a freaking lot of work, and there's not a lot of payoff for it, and you run the risk of all the craziness, of people who don't like people who are counting cards. It's just like, why do stuff that's just not fun? It's kind of what eventually got me out of poker. We haven't talked about this, but I played a lot of poker back in the day,
Mhm.
um, to the point where I was making more from playing in poker tournaments than my salary was from WotC. Like I was getting making more from that, but eventually you just kind of like you're there at a casino and you like look around at the people you're with, that you're spending hours with. You're like, what the fuck am I doing here? Why am I here with these people? I don't want to be with these people. This is not what I want to be spending my time doing. Even if it's profitable, it's just like it's not a good use of your time, you know,
Mm.
gambling. It's like you're adding zero to humanity from gambling, right? You're just taking from people that probably can't afford to lose what they're losing. Uh, so yeah.
It's one of my least favorite things on earth.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, that said, being in a casino with some friends and going to a craps table and having fun at a
That's
craps
fun.
table is insanely fun. It is so much fun. Um,
Mhm.
but not playing poker. Like, yeah. Now,
Just yeah,
poker is a great game. Don't get me wrong. I still, when you're with friends, playing poker is super fun, super
yeah.
duper fun and interesting. But not for to make as a living.
Just yeah, it's like burning your hand with a cigarette. That's lit. It's like for me, it's like I played poker too in the early aughts, and it was everyone did pretty much, right? And I don't think I'll ever play again. Certainly not like for the sake of caring about winning.
Uh-huh.
There are better things to do to try and win, I think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, working at interesting places ends up being a better long term bet
Yes,
there.
that better investment with your time.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing that happened on Substack, which I think happened on a bunch of these different, like, more journalistic style platforms, where they just integrated with Polymarket so that you can
Uh,
embed different lines in your reportage, which creates all kinds of weird incentives for people. I don't know
yeah.
if you've like thought about that,
Uh,
like
uh, a little bit.
strategy.
It no, it feels yeah, I mean I know about Play Market and the other ones that are out there. All of those feel very exploitive. Like they're designed for insiders to exploit people with inside information to
Oh,
exploit
for
everyone
sure.
else. It feels like the whole point of those things.
Isn't it bad enough already? Like, don't you already have enough control, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, there used to be no insider stock trading rules back in the early part of stock market. Like part of insider trading was part of
sure.
like you were a good trader if you had inside information, and that's fine if that's the rules, but it sucks for anyone who doesn't have that. And so eventually the whatever the equivalent of the SEC was back then said, no, this is actually not cool for everyone else. And
It's
yeah,
like
these
we
poly
refuse
market,
to learn history's lessons on purpose.
yeah. I mean, hey, God bless you if you do have inside information about any of those sort of bets that are up there and you can make money. But it feels pretty exploitive to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting seeing people's reaction. I think many are like, "I will leave the platform now." But there's not really a place to go. It's a really weird time where, like, the power brokers definitely, uh, are not governed that closely.
Yeah.
Um Yeah. I'm curious about, like, where your kid is on the gaming ladder now. Like, what
Oh,
kinds of games can you get to,
oh,
and, like, what games do you recommend for parents who are interested in braining up their child?
yeah. So for the longest time, we didn't really let him play video games at all. That was like a no go, just because I don't think it's good. But we played a lot of board games with him and card games and taught him that. And we will still play games, and there's still some games that we like playing as a family or doing. Like he recently got reintroduced to Can't Stop, the Sid
Oh, that's
Sackson
fun.
game, which is great. And it's perfect for like, okay, you're middle school, there's math, there's probability, there's some interesting math lessons to learn there. And actually just played a 1v1 Agricola with him not too long ago, which was
Oh,
which
wow.
was pretty intense, but probably a little more intense than it should be, but good. But he's now like we do have an Xbox and he's just started playing Fortnite and he's like super into it and good, way better than I could be. He's like, "Oh, Dad, let's play duos. Dad, we should play duo." And I'm like, I'm not. The twitchiness is not my thing, but it's what he enjoys. He's also doing basketball. Like I've kind of brainwashed him to enjoying basketball and
Oh,
plays
yeah.
on his middle school team competitively and is doing like self defense classes. Like I said, trumpet too. I think it's super important for kids to play instruments, play an
Yeah.
instrument for a while and force your kids to learn an instrument and be in a band because I think it does amazing things for a developing brain that just can't really be done otherwise, or maybe they can, but certainly learning an instrument is the easiest way to have those connections happen. So
Yeah, I'm on that train too. I think it's been interesting. My oldest daughter, she's vied for the school play for multiple reasons. She's strategic. She's like, one, it means I don't have to do a sport on those days. So it's 3 days a
oh,
week.
okay,
Uh,
yeah,
two, she likes it, but it ends up like being her version of an ensemble because the thing that she could do instead of that is rock band, which is kind of hearkening to what you're talking about, but like it's A or B.
mm,
Um, so she is going to be on the theater side, I
okay,
think, for
yeah,
and through eighth grade because nothing is going to get her on the soccer field.
yeah. What grade is she in now?
She's in fourth. She's playing indoor soccer now. She's been pretty
Okay,
good. So
okay,
it's not as serious as I'm making it sound. She will get on
gotcha.
the field, but she has definitely found like being part of that ensemble is awesome.
Yeah,
It's her jam.
yeah,
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I've hit a point where like when the kids were growing up, we could play games a lot, and then I did this crazy startup with Pani Hurtados, if you remember that guy.
yeah,
And I was like, I don't have any brain power to play games with you children. How about I drool and we just laugh? And so there's just a point at which like I'm glad the Nintendo Switch exists. But we don't game as like much as we did when they were younger for sure, which
yeah.
is sad,
Yeah.
but they're gonna grow
Oh,
up.
I did also introduce my son to Magic last year. Um, I forget how I had a box of something that was lying around that didn't get sold, and I like went to the local store. I think it was Nemesis, and I said, "Hey, can I trade this just for a bunch of starter product of the new whatever the new sets were?" I think it was Lord of the Rings, maybe. I seem to remember Hobbits being around there, so I think it was Lord of the Rings set that they had. Um, and just got a bunch of those to play with him, and he was into it. It was fun. And the starter decks, there was some starter product too that actually had some pretty fun. Like whoever designed those decks, kudos to at WotC. They were good. They were good
Yeah.
starter decks. They were fun to play.
Yeah, there was no negative like you could feel about that from my side. I played with my neighbor. He had those two decks from Lord of the Rings, and I was like, "This is pretty wonderful. I have no complaints.
Yeah,
I don't. It doesn't bother me at all that the IP is being used well to support another IP and amplify it, so that I can enjoy it." Yeah, I thought that was great. I don't. Yeah, I guess I'm prone to liking like
yeah,
IPs that I like brought to life. I'm like, sure. It's when you have IPs you don't care about brought to life. That's the dissonant parts.
sure.
Um, is there anything you'd change looking back at WotC? Like if you could change one thing, whether it's strategic or tactical or a card or playing
Oh,
basketball on the wrong day and hurting your knee, which happened to everyone.
yeah, it didn't happen to me. Thank God.
Wow. You retired, it
Uh,
seemed like.
yeah, 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 yeah. Um, I don't know. I think there's no like one card or set that I would have changed. I mean, we got chewed out for was it Urza Saga and all the broken cards that were there, and we got yelled at. But I don't know. I actually don't feel bad about that now. I feel like that was a fine thing for people to go through. Um, I think just for me personally, I think I should have left WotC sooner than I did. Really, um, I'm one where if I'm enjoying what I'm doing and if I'm enjoying the people that I'm doing it with, I'm pretty happy to just keep doing what I'm doing. And that in general, that's a great philosophy to have. Like you shouldn't always be looking for the next best thing. But you do have to balance that with looking out for the next best thing. Like, and there comes a time when it's like you should be moving on to other things. Now, I, so sound corny. I think that there was part of like God's plan for me to, like leave WotC and go to back to San Francisco and have this amazing sort of second half of a career that started at Zynga and was able to sort of reunite then with my now wife, and we got married, had a kid, and like super happy with all the things that have happened since then. And I do think that there was a hand that was moving me towards that. I just wish I would have realized that before I needed the hand to move me, maybe.
That makes sense. Yeah, I never felt that you were unhappy at Wizards when I was there, but I can
No,
totally tell what you're saying because there was a life to be lived and you've lived it and it's good. So
yeah,
if you
yeah.
could
I
have
mean,
done
I
it
guess
sooner.
the lesson is, it's like, yes, working on something you enjoy and working with people you enjoy is super important. But there is a balance to the rest of your life too that you need to think about and everything else going on. So
I have a feeling that Brandon is Brandon Bozzi and Paul Barkley is Paul Barkley.
I'm guessing Paul Barkley is Paul Barkley.
I mean, why would you call yourself that
Yeah.
if you're not Paul Barkley? Hello, Paul Barkley. It's nice to see you guys. Yeah, I kind of want to talk about Zynga a little bit. It is Brandon Bozzi. Like he could be I had a call with Hacker last week, and Hacker was wearing a robe at the beginning, and he had his camera off, and I was like, just turn the camera on, man. I don't care. So like, he didn't do that. He's like, I'm gonna change, and he looked great for the call. He looked great too. It's not a competition. Well, it's nice to see you guys. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about Zynga.
Sure.
Because I'm interested in the lessons people take with them, and like
Okay.
moments where things changed for you, or moments where you're like, "Oh, I see things differently now." And I mean, you were there early. What even was the story? Like,
Yeah.
what's Mafia
So
Wars? Yeah.
yeah. So when I left WotC, I remember like spending like a few months kind of like just chilling out, going to yoga class at the Y, or the equivalent of the Y up there, and doing some climbing, doing other stuff. But eventually when I started looking, I remember I was into, this is like early Facebook days. Um, uh, Zynga had a game that was like, the equivalent of like Jumble. Um, I'm searching for the letters. I forget what the
Scramble.
name.
Yeah.
Was it
That
called
game,
Scramble? Okay.
that game
Yeah.
rock.
Yeah, it was. It was a good early Facebook game. Um, and I remember thinking, oh, yeah, that's a pretty cool game. I wonder if I know anyone that works there. And I think it was Echoberry actually that knew someone that worked there. Bill Mooney was the
Mooney, yeah.
person I talked to. And he was the one that like I first interviewed with and hired me. And I worked for Justin Sinicolo because he was in charge of Mafia Wars at the time. Or maybe
Mhm.
Mooney was, but it was a little blurry about it, what the actual roles were. Um, and they had the vision, thankfully, to be like, okay, yeah, this guy's worked in trading card games, but it's pretty, it's obviously he has a good head on his shoulders and could understand like what's going on with our, game here, and there's an economy here, and we could hire you as a designer to work on this game. I think I got hired as a designer, but super early on at Zynga, it became clear to me that like the path to glory is not through design, but through product management. Now, there was some prejudice there just from it. I think that's still true in a lot of mobile game and a lot of like places coming out of the old Web 2 space are like that. But really, and this is a huge lesson for folks. I tell this story to almost everyone that like I interview or talk to about that, like being a good product maker in the mobile space or computer space for that matter. Um, it's really, there's like two axes. There's like a product axis where you're good at sort of analytics. Maybe you're really good at like putting a deck together, might be part of those skills. At maybe, well, the communication needs to be for both, but like you're good at,
Storytelling.
yeah, or you can like you can do the analysis to say like, hey, here's how our game's performing. Here's how this competitors or this other game in our portfolio is performing. We're lacking like this metric is the key one. That if we could improve this, we'd have better retention and we'd grow and things would be great. Um, and you can be really strong on that axis. Some people that are super duper strong on that axis but can only do that might be like analysts, right? Who kind of get pigeonholed into just doing that part, but they couldn't design a feature to address that gap upside in metrics to save their lives. And on the other axis, you have designers that are, I'll say more creative, but not necessarily, but like who can think of things, or maybe can think of things from the user's point of view of like, oh, it'd be a really fun experience for the user if they could do this, that, or the other, or often, designers. And sometimes at the extreme end, you have designers that just want to design. They don't want to worry about numbers. They just want to be super creative. And super creative people are awesome. You need people like that. But it's people that can do both, that have both of those skills, both on the product manager side and on the design side, that were successful at Zynga and have been, frankly, are the ones that wind up being
Yeah.
successful at other companies too. It's like you need to have both a design sense and a product management sense and be able to manage both those things to be successful. So, um, anyways, at Zynga, I saw pretty quickly that being a PM was more the path to glory. And so like I got
Yeah,
myself
for sure.
changed to being instead of a senior designer to like a senior product manager, and then lead and director, and or I think I went to director of design and then went to director of product. I think I went up to director in design and then switched over to product and was director of product. So um yeah, and it was interesting early on. Like at first at Zynga, like we made more money on MySpace than we did on Facebook, right? But it was
Mhm.
clear the writing on the wall was that Facebook was going to be bigger. Um, I started off on Mafia Wars, which was I'll say a terrible game, and I don't mean that disparagingly because it was, but it was also a great game, and it's like one of the first games where people actually felt connected on Facebook and could like have a community, and people kind of like self-organized into clans and did other stuff to try to attack other people. And there was like a real, I mean, any game where people are spending hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on, you're doing something right. Like there's something definitely right going on there for people to connect with. Um, and I was what was I gonna say? Like I remember when we first had our like first $1 million day at Zynga, and we had this like huge celebration. On Mafia Wars, I mean, and we wound up going to like we all got to go to like Vegas that same weekend to celebrate. There was some crazy startup like days there. I remember there was a really strong sort of central product guy. Oh gosh, what was his name? Oh, I forget. I'm sorry that I forget his
Maybe
name, but
Shiremeyer or
yeah, sure, Meyer, like um who was really good at sniffing out people PM's bullshits. Like um yeah, you need a person in Central like that who can like sniff out, because a PM can BS you with statistics if you don't have someone sharp kind of calling them on their fake axes or their fake segmentation to like the data that they're showing you. Um but he was really good at, and also at Zynga, they were really good at like celebrating wins and celebrating like learning from losses too. That like something that went out and failed wasn't necessarily seen as like, oh, this is terrible. It's like, oh, this is an opportunity to learn. Like I always say too that like, hey, if you're a product manager and you have an idea for a feature and you think it's going to move KPIs by this much, and you go build a feature and it moves KPIs by that much, well, that's great. You're a good PM. Congratulations. You deserve some money or whatever. Like, do it again. It's wonderful. Um, but like when you have an idea for a feature and you think it's going to move KPIs by so much and you build it and then it doesn't happen, it's like, aha, now we get to learn. That's actually interesting because like what was it about our assumptions that was wrong? What can we actually learn here and like make everybody better at? And Zynga's pretty good about like even when teams had something that wasn't successful about going out and sharing the learnings from things that went wrong. I mean, obviously you're quick about sharing things that like were successful. I think it was like I remember when Farmville made its feature the chicken coop, which was like one of the first
yeah.
sort of like social features where you had to ask your friends for parts to build this thing that gave you some eggs or whatever, chickens or whatever it was. And Farmville did great for them. We're like, okay, how can we do that in Mafia Wars? I'm like, oh, we could do this in a week. And that was one of the other things too. It's like we had some great devs,
web
and it's like,
page.
yeah, like you could like, yeah, and it was web too, so it's like it was super easy to like, yes, in a week we had a feature. Chop Shop was a feature that was like kind of the equivalent thing. And we had some late nights with some devs working there, but we got that stuff done. And maybe it wasn't a week, maybe it was 2 weeks, but um, those were the days like when you could really move at lightning speed. And like it makes me sad that like doing a feature like that now on a mobile game would probably take a couple months to do, because you have to be so much more careful with mobile and Apple and
Economies. Yeah.
QA. Like you actually have to QA your feature before you put it out. Like QA was sort of like, maybe we do, maybe we don't back then. And it was easy to roll back stuff on Web 2 than you can now. But just like, I really do miss moving at the speed that we were able to move back then with features.
Yeah, it was fun watching your team go. There's a question in my mind which came up in Kermon's. I don't know if you remember Josh Kermond. He was on Cityville for a
Okay.
long time, then went to Frontier. But on Cityville, we had like a dozen different GMs. Like, how many
Yeah.
GMs did Mafia Wars ultimately have? And like,
Eh,
it was this like bugger feature, like the fact that like Pincus was willing to move people around so quickly.
I think it's feature. And we didn't have too many
Yeah,
on Mafia Wars. I mean, it was Bill Mooney at first, and then Cinicolo, and then I think Scotty became
Scotty.
GM, right? And then
Yep.
Scotty eventually went to go lead Cityville, and I don't remember who took over Mafia Wars after that. It might have already been shipped off to wherever. I had already left by that time. So I don't remember, but that actually is not that many leaders. I mean, the whole Mark Pinka's question is an interesting one. Super great instincts for things. Has trouble sometimes getting those instincts out to people in a way you understand. I think, who is the best person at that really understood what Mark was saying and getting it to him in a way that,
Chang?
no. It's the guy who died recently. Tim Letourneau. He was
Oh
the
yeah,
best.
he was really good at that.
He was super awesome at understanding what Mark wanted, what he really wanted, and giving him a version that was actually could be done correctly. And a lot of people failed because they weren't able to do that. But Mark likes to move fast too. Like, he was always like, if he felt like a game wasn't going to be a hit, he was super quick to pull the plug and put those people on something else. There's positives and negatives to that. Positive is like, you don't waste time with people and you're always sort of like searching for the next thing. But also, like, you lose, like, it puts a fear of God into teams, and like all the sweat equity that teams build up gets lost. It's like, once, because all games go through a cycle of probably peaking and then going down. And once the thing starts going down, it turns into like rats leaving a sinking ship, which
Oh
is not
yeah,
good.
for sure. Yeah.
And I think, to like Scopely's credits, the CEO of Scopely, Javier and Walter, are they're way better at giving teams time to find the fun. Like, and in fact, the only reason I'm at Scopely now is because of Dice with Buddies, or the Yahtzee game, and like that game spent like a year's working to try to like find what was actually going to work for the game, and then they eventually found it and turned things around. And I was just super impressed that they had the patience as CEOs to have a team of, 100 people, like, spend that much time to try to get to something that was good, and it got to what's good. Because, like, I mean, and it's, yes, Monopoly Glow is making gazillions more than that game is now, but it showed me that this is a leadership team that has patience to let teams, get to the promised land, as long as they kind of believe the story and what you're doing. So yeah.
They might be one of the few companies in games that are capable of doing that, right? Almost everyone has like cloned themselves to death, or like lost the distribution wars. I feel like Scopely has had patience for an awful long time. Once it hit its first like end successes, it was like, okay, now we're going to actually like try and be. We're not going to be in the like chop shop business. Like, it started out kind of chop shoppy, and then it's like, nope, we're going to make the change to be someone who's thinking long term and going to make bets on that axis. Almost everyone else failed because they were going after like past successes in free to play that haven't stayed in demand at all.
Games business is hard too. Like, it really is hard. It's very much hit driven, and it's hard to get a hit, especially without major IP. Yeah, I be nervous about like starting up my own game company. Like, it's tough. You have to have a really good sort of core idea. I think the better path is because a lot of indie stuff that's interesting, and like taking something that works there and then trying to take that and then AAA it, or making it into something successful, would be a better way of going. But yeah, I mean, even for Scopely, like, it doesn't mean they won't kill games. Like, we had like a long time, we were trying to make a Breaking Bad game, like a 4X kind of game. This is back when Game of War was really big. And the Breaking Bad IP makes sense for that, but it never really came together. And eventually, the team decided, like, no, we're not going to do this. Let's take the team and put them onto Star Trek. They tried to make a 4X Star Trek game, and that was like the one 4X game that's been super successful, and it's still going. Whereas most of the 4X games followed Game of War's, inflation to death plan, which just does not work.
Yeah, I think there was a question from Jay Schneider, and I didn't know how to answer it because I don't know who anyone is anymore. But he was like, who are the 3 people who have made the biggest impact in game design after Wizards? And he defaulted to what he sees, which is card game people or analog game people. So it ended up being Merle's, Place, and Low, and they've all had good successes, and they're all interesting. But there are people like you and Eccleberry and Soda Santi who had big design impacts that like wouldn't necessarily be known to like tabletop side. And you're not the only ones. There are more for sure. But it was interesting. I don't know. I don't even know how you would intelligibly like wait for that question, but I'll throw it at you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Money
I,
earned by product. You're like,
yeah, I mean, I think Mike Donate would have to be on that list too,
yeah, he was high
right?
up there too.
Right,
Yeah,
like I mean, the stuff he did for Hearthstone and for
Tyler.
yeah,
Tyler's had a good run too, right?
yep. Um, so yeah, there's a number of successes I think, and I don't know how to credit like what percent of my do I count for Monopoly Go? Like, it's certainly you shouldn't get credit for all of what Monopoly Go does because there's quite a few hundred people on the team, but it's not nothing either. So I don't know.
Yeah, for me, it's like there's a lot to be to feel gratitude for, like the culture that we got that like this game brought together, Magic in particular.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's really lucky bounce. I asked this question a few times. I'm curious about like if you were you and you're 30 years younger and you're growing now, like what are you doing to like grow and develop in this time versus what you could do back then, right? It's different
Ooh,
world, different technology, but like
yeah,
where do you go for like the best sort of I don't know if it's brain or
yeah,
lifestyle or friendship
uh,
or community like
yeah.
that.
I mean, I this is gonna sound corny. Um, I think still playing an instrument in high school is great. I think being in a marching band was great. I think that being able to be in
Mhm.
the marching band at UCLA, as corny as that sound, was awesome because it got me a ton of friends that I was able to meet there. I think that um, being a gamer is fun and fine, and if you want to be in the games industry, you should be a gamer to some extent. Be careful about letting it like be all of your life though, because I think that can lead to burnout. Well, addiction on the bad side, but burnout too. Um, I think that getting a college degree is still important.
Yes.
I think it's going to always be important, and it's not because I care that like you're smarter than somebody who doesn't get a college degree. It's not that at all. It to me, as a potential person that's going to hire someone, it says that like, oh, this person can set a long-term goal that's going to be hard and require years of work, and they're able to achieve it,
Yeah.
from whatever situation that they had to go through. um Plus it's like a pathway to a lot of interesting careers too. Now, in terms of what I'd be doing, whew, it's weird, like the whole AI thing that's like started and looming. Like, or if you'd asked me this question a few years ago, I might have said that like, dev work is there's always going to be demand for devs no matter what. I don't know how true that is anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I was able to like, I never used Python, but like last year, I created some Python. I wrote Python code to help me do my work in economy, and it's stuff that I would have had to have an engineer do for me before. But now I was able to do in a matter of a couple of weeks, sort of just teaching myself, with Claude or ChatGPT or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
Now, I still think there's going to be the place for a person that understands code. They might not be coding, but they need to understand sort of the questions to ask and the right questions to ask and be able to sort of like, if the AI is writing the code for them, great to like help them answer those questions. Like,
I think it's like even the way you're describing it and my own experience, like the mechanics are no longer necessarily going to be needed because we can all be mechanics, but the theorists or the people who are the architects that pull us all together end up being of much higher importance, right? The people who understand how everything's going to like intersect such that we don't break each other's lives,
yeah, yeah.
right? What's on your bucket list at this point? You've done a lot of things, sir.
Yeah. Um, that's a good question. Uh, I don't know. It's great to having kids is great. I recommend it for everyone who's of a mind
Yeah.
to do that. It humbles you and lifts you up at the same time. And it's fun to like. It's been great, like rediscovering all sort of my classic like 90s and 80s movies with my son as I get to sit there and watch with him. It's I don't know. It's just a pathway towards a lot of fun. So there'll be that. Uh Bucket list. I don't know. Maybe eventually if it becomes safe enough, like being able to travel into space, like where people can like actually afford to do that, reasonable people can, you know,
Mhm.
I think would be incredibly cool. I think it'd be a neat way to see the Earth. If it was safe, there's a big if. It's still, like, I don't even know how safe these things are. And I think an actual trip, not like the stuff that Blue Origin has been doing of just like these little pop shots up there. The same experience you could get riding in a balloon high enough. Not that, but actually doing that, I think would be cool. But who knows? If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Well, we'll see.
Okay. Vegas Showdown 2, the next board game.
Oh, I doubt it. I mean, I think there'll be more sort of creative stuff too. In retirement of art or whatever. Alternative to George W. Bush making my poodle paintings.
He has a
Yeah.
Substack now, Henry. He has a
Does he really?
Substack now.
Okay.
He does. He
Yeah.
talks about
I
better
wish he
leaders.
speak. Oh, good. Good. I mean, I wish he'd speak up more about like the problems with his party, or whatever you want to call it, what was his party. Not anymore.
Yeah, that's his jam at the moment. I think there's there are a lot of loud voices to that end, which you would expect. I found it to be really therapeutic. Probably the funniest and highest profile comedian who is non-right, probably centrist, but non-right. Maybe far left. I don't know. It's just he is the most funny person about tearing down the right. Like I pay to subscribe to him and I respond to his like joke posts because
Uh-huh.
it's like cheaper than therapy. I'm like
Okay.
I feel oddly attuned with like that style of humor, like
Yeah.
dark criticism of the right. I'm like, that's my jam.
Yeah.
And if you're out there listening and you're on the far right, that's fine. You can live your life, but I can live mine too, and I can probably live it better.
Uh,
That was fun to say. You want to say hi to any of these people?
who do we got?
I
I
don't
see
know.
Brandon
Yeah, let's see
is
if
here.
Brandon's
Hello. I
around.
see Paul. Yeah. I remember running into Paul sometime at Zynga. Paul was doing something that intersected with us at Zynga. I don't remember exactly what it
Oh,
was, but there was
interesting.
something. There was something at some time when I remember thinking about Paul a lot when I was at Zynga, and I thought it was something that he was proposing to do for Zynga, or maybe.
I don't remember. I see Paul. I don't know if he's around, but if he is,
Oh,
Brandon, you're funny. So in this UX, I can't see who Brandon is, and there's a billion people. Oh, you know something? I have an idea. I don't know if Barkley's online.
yes, it says waiting for Paul Barkley to join.
Let's see if he's around. There is no Brandon Bozzi. Oh, he was like B-Boz or something. I can't remember. Regardless, we tried. Oh, yeah. Hey, Brandon. I don't know how to invite you, but oh, wait. Doesn't matter. I think Brandon says hello.
Well,
Well, it's great to see you.
thank you, Brian. You too.
If you, yeah,
Are
I'm glad to
you still
see.
in the Bay Area?
I live in Marin. I live right near Star Wars, Skywalker
Okay,
Ranch. So
that's not too far away.
no, if you guys are into, we just did an escape room, and my 10-year-old is like the kind of kid who should do more escape rooms. So
Okay.
that's something where we're going to explore the city and not Marin to understand like what's out there so that we can try some escape rooms. I'm not usually an escape room person myself, but I did enjoy it yesterday.
Okay.
Getting the right group is a big deal. So maybe I'll throw an invite your way when we figure that out.
Sure. Well, if you do, I remember having a really fun Passover Seder at your place too one year. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
that was a really good time. I think, yeah, it's been a minute. Are you going to GDC or Magic
Ah,
Con?
MagicCon, no.
Yeah,
GDC, maybe. I was thinking about doing a chat about the stuff we've done on Monopoly Go econ wise. But I
that's
missed the
cool.
deadline. Maybe I'll do it next year. I think it'd be fun.
That seems like an important thing to do. We were talking about having like a 20 years ago or 25 years ago R&D panel at
Oh,
MagicCon, but I don't know if it's happening or not. But Paul and I were talking with Wizards about it, and if it does happen, I'll let you know so that you can decline.
cool. Well, I mean, I think that'd be fun. I think it'd be fun to
Yeah,
do.
it'd be pretty fun. I'll let you know if it happens. I think Place would show up. Uh, it would be fun to see everybody. It's been a while.
Cool.
All right. Nice to see you.
All right, sir.
Live your life.
Thank you. You
Until
too.
next
Bye-bye.
time.